So I'm so glad that you guys are all with me and that I get to introduce you to my really good friend, Ben Carey. So he is currently in Las Vegas right now, and he's actually in his recording studio surrounded by 90 of his guitars.
I
and,
do have a lot of guitars laying
and he'll
around.
give
Yeah.
us a little preview tour of the studio when he's done. And I have not seen him. I have not seen you since like the last time I was in Vegas because I had to cancel my flights in March and April.
Yeah.
But we talked for an hour this morning before this, and he was so down for this. So I'm like so excited. And for people who don't know how we met, I don't know if you want to tell a story, Ben, or
I want to hear your version. I want to hear your version. Come on. Yeah.
Okay, so it was the first time I met you. My girlfriend said, "Hey, do you want to see this band Elvis Monroe?" Right? Or did I meet you when I was working at Red Rock already? Was that the first time?
No, it was through the band. So we were playing at Red Rock. So
Okay, so I was
yeah,
working. Okay,
yeah,
so I used to
yeah.
manage. I used to be a manager at the Red Rock Station Casinos, which is like a luxury casino out of like all these, I don't know, franchise casinos. And one of the venues I had to manage was a lounge that performed with like loud music, and their band was performing. So I was checking on everything. And towards the end, I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Blah blah blah. If you need anything." But we connected that way, and then we kept connecting with music. And you know my heart for music, guys. So we just became really, really good friends. And I don't know, Ben, you start saying something about it.
So
You weren't living there yet, right?
no, I was in the band Lifehouse, and we were touring pretty hardcore. But I had a band called Elvis Monroe, which is like my passion project with my best buddies, and it had the drummer from Matchbox 20, me from Lifehouse, the fiddle player from Emerson Drive, the bass player from the Drills, and the singer from Paperback Hero. So we would all fly in from our tours, and we'd meet in Vegas, and we would just play, and the more we did that, we sort of meet people, and I was I'm going to be completely honest, Beck, so you're going to get totally outed right now. So we were playing, and there was a group of girls that came to see us play, and Bex was one of the girls, and there was this kind of weird dude in the group, and I was like, man, that girl's really pretty, and she's like super nice. I want to meet her. So I got to meet her, and that was Bex. Then we hit it off, like became friends. And her boyfriend at the time was an absolute total douchebag. So, you know, so it was an interesting little dynamic. I was like, how is this cool girl with this clown? And that's how we became friends. So that's the truth of the story. That's how I met Bex. And we just became great friends, and we've stayed like super close for, man, it's probably nearly 10 years now, or maybe even more, actually, maybe even more than 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
12 years probably.
and then you moved to Vegas, right? Because at that time you
Yeah.
weren't living there, and that's when it
No,
became really.
I was living in LA when we met and became friends, and then I moved to Vegas like 6 years ago. It's ironic. I got to see Bex more when I lived in LA than I did when I actually moved to Vegas. It was, she's always gallivanting around the world.
Well, that ex was the stalker that I was traumatized by, so that's why he said that. But
Yeah,
anyways,
he was.
moving past that, so
Yes.
he always knew about my faith, and he was always respectful. But we never really got into like faith talks or anything like that. I would always show support whenever he had events in town, and I would bring people and I'd introduce him to people, and he was always super cool with everybody. He would embrace them like family. And so today was the first time that I brought it up again because I said the majority of the group will be Christians. And, I don't know if you're Christian, but I knew that the lead of Lifehouse was Christian. And then he goes, well, actually, and he hasn't told me this story yet. So he said, rather than tell it twice, I'll just tell it in the group. So maybe you want to start off with maybe your faith story or your faith background or how you.
Sure. So and I'll do that, and I'll segue into the Lifehouse thing. So as a kid, I had two dreams. I wanted to be, to give it a real cheesy name, I wanted to be a rock star, and I wanted to be a basketball star. And they were the two things that I loved. And that's not a very practical decision for a short white Australian kid that lives in the bush in Australia, when most NBA players are giant brothers that are super athletic and amazing, and I'm like this little dorky white guy. But I was going to be a basketball star. That was my plan. I was going to be a rock star. That was my plan. My parents were both super, super supportive of any of my crazy ideas, as long as I put in the work. So I would practice guitar every day. I would practice basketball every day. My deal with my parents was as long as I kept up with my schoolwork, they would support me 100%. And because of amazing parents and supportive parents, they gave me the opportunities and the tools that I needed to be successful in life. And I actually grew up a Seventh-day Adventist, which is, I mean, it's funny in America. Well, I guess it's funny anywhere in the world. A lot of people think it's a cult. It's kind of, which always made me laugh as a kid. It's just a Christian faith where you go to church on a Saturday rather than a Sunday. That's sort of the only thing that's a little strange. So I grew up, everybody I knew, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist primary school, which in America, elementary school. And then after that, we moved. So when I was going into high school, everybody I knew for my whole childhood was either my cousins, because my mom's Italian and she had like 900 brothers and sisters, and they all had 900 kids. So I had a lot of cousins, or they were all people that were involved in the church. I went to a church school. We had Boy Scouts, which was called Pathfinders. So everyone was kind of that core faith group, that core. So it wasn't anything but normal for me. And then I don't know if you guys experience that. Being faith-based, sometimes in a secular world, people look at that a little bit strangely, or they don't quite understand it. I didn't know any different. Everybody was part of the church, so it was just kind of how life was. My cousins were all Catholic. I was Seventh-day Adventist. They went to church Sunday. I went to church Saturday. That was a little weird as a kid to get my head around, but I figured that out soon enough. And then fast forward to high school and becoming good at basketball and becoming the best guy on the team and becoming the best guy in the town. We would play tournaments. And part of being a Seventh-day Adventist was, back in the olden days when they made the rules, so to speak, they didn't have clocks. So there wasn't a clock to say it's midnight. The days were taken from sunset to sundown. So our Sabbath day was Friday sunset to a Saturday sunset, and during that time, my parents were a little bit cooler than most. They didn't want church or faith to be something that my brother and I resented. So they made it more of a family day than a church day. So I could have friends over, we could go do cool things, but we just took time out from the world and made sure it was a family day. Friday night, everyone had to be home for dinner. Like if I wanted to have friends over, they could come, but they're coming to our house for dinner, or we'd all go on a picnic or a bike ride, or we'd go to the beach. We wouldn't watch TV. We wouldn't do things that we would do in a secular world for the 6 other days in the week. So in that sense, religion was not really a boat anchor for me. It was kind of a day of time out to reflect. I had a reasonably strong faith based in the man upstairs. When I got to being about 14, I think, my parents said to me, look, you're old enough to make your own decisions. You don't have to come to church if you don't want to. So I sort of stopped going. I would go sometimes, I would not go sometimes. The one thing that really bothered me about the church was I loved music, and I loved all kinds of music. I love rock music. I love, and I hated being condemned for, in the Seventh-day Adventist church, it was very traditional. So I listened to bands like Van Halen and things like that. And I remember in 1986, I got sent to the principal's office for listening to devil's music. Van Halen was devil's music. And that was a bummer for me because I really liked it. And it just sort of made me go, all right, I'm going to believe in what I believe, but I'm not going to go to church every week and be around hypocritical people that want to point their finger at other people and not worry about themselves and just being a good person. For me, the Christianity side was more about being the best version of yourself and helping as many people as you can in that process. And that's kind of how I lived my life. I wanted to treat other people as I wanted to be treated. I did have a faith in the guy upstairs, and I believe everything's for a reason. There's always, like going back to Bex and I meeting, there's a reason we met. There's a reason we became friends. There's a reason we're going to be lifelong friends. All of the events that happen in our lives, both good and bad, are all part of a plan. We don't really know the plan, but they make us who we are. And they prepare us for the other things in life that may be coming that we don't know about, So fast forwarding a little bit through that, the basketball thing got really serious for me. And we would go play tournaments, and I wasn't able to play on Friday night or Saturday. So it was a big pain in the butt for the team to have the best player sit out. And then it got to sundown on Saturday. I'm like, put me in, coach. I'm ready, and then I'd go in and play. So I had an opportunity. I got a letter in the mail. I was 16 years old, inviting me to try out for the local pro team, which was 2 hours drive away from where I lived. So I asked my dad, hey, can I go to the tryouts? And he's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, why? And he goes, because you're just a kid and this is adults and this is pro basketball and you're in high school. And I said, yeah, but just let me try. Like, what's the worst that happens? I get beat up and I don't make the team and whatever. So he's like, all right, if you want to try, I'll take you. There's 120 invitations went out to the whole area. And they were out of the 120, they were only accepting 2 players. So I showed up to that 120 and made the first cut, made the second cut. Mind you, every time my parents would drive me 2 hours each direction for this over the course of the next few weeks. It whittled down, and as it turns out, I made the team. And I was 16. I was still in high school, which was really strange to be a young kid and make it in the pros. So I'm walking on the beach, and I was presented with a bit of a issue. I wasn't able to play on a Friday night or a Saturday. Some of our games were Friday nights. It was the pros. It is what it is. They're selling a lot of tickets. I had a conversation just out loud. I said, hey, if I'm meant to make the team, you want me to play on Friday nights. If I don't make the team, I know that I'm not meant to play on Friday nights. I couldn't really get my head around the fact of not doing something you love with the right heart and mind. I felt it was more detrimental to the cause of being a good person because people start looking at you like you're crazy, and as you know, if you're I hesitate to use this term, but hopefully I don't offend anybody, but if you're Bible bashing to people and preaching to them, it doesn't do any good. All it does is turn them off. So my approach was, I'm just going to go out in life and be the best person I can be. If people ask me, like Bex and I have been friends for 10 years, she didn't know till today that there was a faith part of my life, but she did see the good in me. She did see that I treated people well and things like that. So that was my sort of life message, was just to go out and do what I can do the best of my ability. And if I'm meant to be here, I'll be here. So I tried the best I could. I made the team. So that was my message from the dude upstairs saying, okay, you're meant to be in this world. You're meant to be in this squad, and you're meant to be a better example to, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm not a party guy, but yet I'm still competing on a world-class level with these people. I'm still in the bands selling thousands of seats a night. Doesn't mean I have to fall into that rock star life or whatever. And that has an effect on people. I think in life, if we go out and just be the best person we can be, it shines, and that was my faith story. And it's just continued that way. I still to this age, never had a drink, never done a drug, don't smoke, I'm a little bit square like that, but I try, I have a fun life. I'm not that boring. I have most of my friends drink, most of my friends enjoy stuff like that, but it's just a choice I've made. And I still live my life by those rules that I have for myself. Treat others as you want to be treated. I don't really go to church. My wife and my son prior to me, he's my stepson. He was 5 when I met him. When he was about 3, he started showing interest in God. So my lady, took him to church every now and then, and we've gone probably between 5 and 10 times together with friends, or as a family, we've gone on our own accord. I think I've been maybe 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years with our family unit, the 3 of us. Nikki and Jaden go occasionally whenever he's sort of feeling it. We leave it in his hands. The churches we go to are kind of fun, very different to how I grew up, probably more of what you guys are used to. The music's like a rock concert. The production's good. The music's cool. I grew up in a very small country town, so there was like this 907-year-old lady playing the organ with the most boring songs on earth. So, when I saw the Assembly of God churches in the city of Melbourne, they put on rock shows, it was concerts and people and lights. And I was like, man, this is awesome. You know, it was really cool. And so that's sort of, you know, I had the boring side of, you know, Amazing Grace on this you know, just terrible organ with, it was horrible. So, so seeing how you guys do it over here, it was pretty cool. I remember back in the day, there was a Christian rock band called Petra that I got to see play. Like they were like, now I don't even remember what year that was, but it was late '80s, early '90s or something. And I played a couple of shows with a band called DC Talk. I don't know if they're still around, but you know, they were kind of an American band touring Australia, so it was a big deal to see them. Uh, when I was a kid, you know, they were pretty cool. I'm not hugely into their music, but production was cool. And then, you know, my life took a pretty big turn making the pros in basketball, and then playing for 4 years in the pros, I decided to quit and join a band, and I was touring in Australia with a band called Brill, which was made up of a couple of guys that were in other big Australian bands. And then one day I got a phone call from a band called Savage Garden, and the one of the guys called me and said, "Hey, you know, we're looking for a young guitar player. We heard you're the guy. There's a plane ticket waiting for you. Learn these 4 songs, and we'll see you tomorrow." So I'm like, okay. So I jumped on a plane and I flew to Brisbane. We auditioned in this house basement in this residential area. This is before Savage Garden blew up all over the world. They were starting to have a bit of success in Australia. And I did the audition, played the songs, and the singer took me outside afterward and he goes, "Are you a rock star?" And I said, "Give me the gig and I'll show you." That was my answer. And a day later, I got the phone call and said, "Pack your bags. We're leaving for India. Um, we start next week, and our first show is with Bon Jovi and No Doubt and the Spice Girls." So my life changed in like a week. Put all my life in storage and learned the songs and jumped on a plane, and now I'm here. You know, so it was a whirlwind start, but I believe, you know, you have a lifetime to prepare for that first opportunity. And something that I live my life by is the opportunity of a lifetime is only ever relevant during the lifetime of that opportunity. So you have to be prepared. You know, and being prepared sometimes is a difficult thing because people, you know, they look at you like you're crazy. Like I knew I was going to get an opportunity. I knew the phone was going to ring. But if I sat on my ass and I didn't work hard as a guitar player, then when that phone rang, I wouldn't be ready to do what needed to be done in less than 24 hours and get on a plane and go and be the guy that they chose. You know, the opportunity of a lifetime is relevant during that lifetime of the opportunity. So you have to be prepared for that opportunity, and you have to have the mindset that's going to come one day, and you got to be tireless at being that way. And even when you get that opportunity in whatever it is in life that you want to be exceptional at, every single day you have to work at it. You know, I'm in the studio today. Every day I'm in here working on being a better version of myself, of my craft and what I do. And that's what it takes, because there's always someone, you know, there's someone younger, there's someone better looking, there's someone more talented, there's someone that, you know, if they work harder, then they're going to be the guy that takes your job, you know. And so I work as hard as I can. It was the same on the basketball court, the same on music. You know, after Savage Garden, first world tour, I joined a band called Tal Bachman. We had that song "She's So High," which was a pretty big hit all over the world. I'm the guy with the crazy pants and stupid haircut in the video. That would be me. So you guys can check out that song "She's So High," the official video. My pants look like they're being made out of grandma's couch. So, and yes, I did choose those all on my own. So that was an interesting fashion choice. So did that band, then I went back with Savage Garden for another world tour. I toured with an artist called Billy Myers. She had a big hit called "Kiss the Rain." And then I played with an artist called Kendall Payne, who was on Capitol Records. Had a song called "Closer to Myself," which was in the movie Never Been Kissed, the Drew Barrymore movie. We did a tour with her. And then I started getting tired of working for other artists, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I really wanted to be my own artist, be my own boss. So I signed a record deal. It was a $1.2 million deal I signed as a kid with my buddy from Australia. And we made a record for Hollywood Records. Then we moved from Hollywood Records over to Warner Brothers. And after 3 years of working on that record, it never got released. and music kind of moved on. We were just a little bit too late to the punch, you know. And at that point in my life, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was engaged to get married. I had no income. My visa was running out. I didn't know what to do. Then Lifehouse called. You know, it's funny in life whether any of you have had this experience, but again, just another way faith may be knocking on your door and you don't realize it. I know you've always heard if you ask for help, it comes in strange ways. I'll never forget sitting in the driveway of the house I was living in LA, and I had my head on the steering wheel of the car, just like, what am I going to do? And I just said, please God, tell me, just point me in a direction, I'll run. I'm not scared of the work. I'm not scared of the journey. Done it all before, but I don't know which direction to run. Like, I don't know what to do. About an hour later, again, I was walking my dog and the phone rings and it's this guy called Bryce. And he goes, hey man, I just want to see if you want to be in this band called Lifehouse. And I'm like, oh, I like that band, but not really my thing. Thank you. But, and he goes, oh, you'd be perfect for the band. I said, yeah, I probably would. It's like up my alley, but I just don't want to work for other people. So, you know, thanks for thinking on me. And that was that. So I kept walking. I went home to my fiance at the time and I'm like, she goes, you know, how's the walk? I said, good. I said, Lifehouse called. And she goes, and I said, they offered me the job to play guitar for them. And she goes, you love that band? I said, yeah, I do love that band. She goes, you said yes, right? I went, no. She goes, are you retarded? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't really think of it that way. I just didn't want to work for other people. So I called Bryce back and I said, hey, maybe I was a little quick to say no. Excuse me one sec. Can I come down and meet you guys? And he goes, well, we've called like 10 other people now, but I still think you're the guy. So yeah, come down tomorrow, learn these 3 songs and we'll see what's up. I'm like, okay. So I learned the 3 songs. I drove to Hollywood, North Hollywood to be exact. And we plugged in the guitars and we played a song called Spin, which was a hit off the Stanley Kleinfeld record. Sounded amazing. Sounded like we played in the band for 20 years. We played the song Hanging by a Moment, which I'm sure you all heard. And it, again, felt like we played together for 20 years. We played the song called, I can hear the guitar parts in my head. I can't remember the name of the song now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Play the 3rd song. And that went great. So then we sat down and talked for like 2 hours. We talked about Michael Jordan, actually. In that conversation, we were both, Jason, the singer, and I were huge Michael Jordan fans. And as it turns out, I met Jason when he was like 16 years old. I was playing with this artist called Kendall Payne, who I just talked about. The reason I talked about her, kind of full circle with Lifehouse, but Jason had his now wife. Back then when he was a kid, he was in love with this girl named Braden. He was 16 years old and she was like 17. Braden's best friend was a girl called Kendall. Kendall was this girl that I was playing with, this artist. And she was semi-faith-based artist. And they were playing a show, like a secular show at their big church auditorium. And I was there playing with her, and these kids that were opening for us had a band, which was kind of Lifehouse, but it wasn't called Lifehouse at the time. And it was called The Vineyard, this place we played out in LA. And this band opened up for us. This singer, his name was Jason. And I remember like talking to these kids and they were freaking out about my guitars and my amps and they'd never seen anything like it, my pedals. Then they started playing and I was like, holy crap, this kid can sing. He's got a voice. Ironically, he ends up being my boss, you know, many years later. So we sat down, we talked about that day. He goes, I still remember the guitars you were playing. I still remember these AC30 amps. And that's the amps he ended up playing and falling in love with. And he was a really great guitar player, a really great singer. So we kind of hit it off talking about basketball. I didn't know he was a huge basketball fan. And they offered me the job and that was that. We jumped in my truck at the time. I had this big Dodge Ram truck. And we drove to Starbucks in North Hollywood. And they're like, do you want to hear the new single? I'm like, of course. So we put on the song and it's You and Me. And I listened to the song and I'm like, it's kind of sleepy. Like for a rock band, like, but I guess it's a good song. It's probably going to be a hit. Ironically, it's the most played song on radio in the last decade. You know, that song just blew up. It's the third longest running song in the charts in the history of the Billboard charts. And we're the only band in the history of the Billboard charts to have two songs in the top 10 songs of the decade. We have the #1 song and the #6 song. So that started my my career with Lifehouse. I was in the band for about 12 years until about 2014. I decided that I didn't want to be in the circus anymore, and I'd kind of done it all. And I met uh, the fiance I was talking about early on. Her and I got married, and that lasted 5 minutes. It was just stupid. So then I was eternally single after that for a long time, which was awesome. And then I met my now wife, where I had no plans of falling in love, no plans of dating anybody. I liked being single. It was great. And let alone dating a single mom, you know, that had a kid. I wasn't against kids. I wasn't into kids. I just something that I never thought of. I was quite happy living the Peter Pan life, being a guitar player in a world famous rock band. It was awesome. And I met Nikki, and she knocked me off my feet. Can't help who you fall in love with. And now I'm a stepdad, and I'm not touring in a band, and, and I'm in Las Vegas, and we have a home and a life and a family, and it's cool. You know, it's definitely a different role. It's taken every day's an adjustment. I still fall into the Peter Pan life very easily. I get on the tour bus and I feel exactly at home. Like I know what's up. Whereas I'm at home and I'm like, what's going on? You know, trying to figure everything out. And Nikki got to tour with me for the first time with my band Elvis Monroe. We were out with Three Doors Down, and she had never seen me on a tour bus. She had never seen me on the road. She'd never experienced how much work it is being on the road, how hard it is. My day is nonstop. She just thought we just hung out, played a show, and then kind of hung out for 23 hours of the day. So when she came on tour with me and she saw how I function and what I do and what every day takes, the amount of effort, work, and talent and time goes into it, it was really great for our relationship. She was able to understand me a little bit better, and also understand how to navigate my shortcomings in life, like trying to be a husband or be a dad or be present is difficult because you have this burning desire inside you to work, and I lose time. I get in the studio and I'll start working, and before you know it, I've come in at 11 a.m. and it's now midnight. Where did the day go? You know, I don't realize it. And that sucks for the family because they're sitting at home waiting, you know. So I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying to balance, like I said, to be the best and to do this on a world-class level. You can't phone it in. You have to do the work, you know, and that's why it's difficult, I think, for people that don't, when I say regular people, I'm not segregating, saying anyone's better than anyone else. I'm just saying, as far as a vocation goes, a regular job, so to speak, you go to at 9 o'clock in the morning, you scoop ice cream for Baskin and Robbins. It's not your business. You get paid your thing, and you go home, and you don't really care what happens to the ice cream till you get back tomorrow and you open it. I want bubble gum, and done, and you go home. Whereas for me, I have to create everything. Every dollar of income for my family comes from here and here. And if I don't do that work and I don't put that time in, then my family doesn't have a home to live in. And it's difficult to turn that off. I think, you know, it's something that's 24/7 all the time. It's something that, I don't know, in all of your walks of life, you've all got significant others or friends and families, and you know, if you're musicians, you understand the amount of time and effort it takes to be good at something. You know, if you're an athlete or you're an artist or an executive at your job, or if you want to be a picture framer, to be the best picture framer in the world takes work and effort. It doesn't just happen overnight. You know, so you have to stay, what I call, motivated and stay consistent. You know, in basketball, I always used to talk about the 4 C's: confidence, control, concentration, and consistency. You know, those 4 things. If you apply those 4 things to life, you know, you got to have the confidence in yourself. You have to have that undeniable, I can do this. You know, consistency. You have to do the work. You have to be consistent every single day of your life. You have to be consistent at whatever it is you want to do. Control. You got to, you know, if you're shooting a shot, you can't be out of control. Playing guitar, I can't be out of control. You got to be in control, be at one with your environment, with your body. If you're a singer, with your throat, you know, all those things, and then confidence to just go after it. You know, consistency, control, confidence, and I can't remember what the other one was. I said, anyway, those four things. If you apply it to life, it makes a huge difference. And I find coming from the athlete side to music, my work ethic and focus is different than a lot of lazy musicians. You know, a lot of musicians get into it because, you know, they want to smoke weed and get drunk and be famous. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, you might fluke some success, but you're never going to stay successful. You know, oh, my thing is dying here. Sorry, hang on a second. You have to charge iPads. What the hell? Okay, good. Hopefully it doesn't die on me. If so, I'll call back from my phone. So yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. And then 2014-ish, I was in Las Vegas kind of by accident, ended up just staying here and not going back to LA. And I started a business, an agency. I hate to call it an agency, but I started mentoring young musicians and booking them in places and designing music programs. And when I realized I could make a great living without being in a tour bus, and I'd met my wife and son, I didn't want to be in a tour bus anymore. I didn't want to be gone all the time, you know, so I wanted to have some normality in my life. So we bought a house and we got married and we started a business. And now I don't have a business for this pretend virus that's going around, you know, and we're coming out the other side of that. And, you know, I'm itching to get back playing again. I'm in the studio every day, and my day-to-day business hopefully will pick up again, you know, once all the, you know, the riots and the virus and stuff, we get back to normal life again. I think we'll be back to people wanting to see people actually play music, you know?
Awesome.
So I just talked a lot. I'm sorry.
No. It's perfect, but I didn't know if you wanted a break talking. So I didn't know if you have more to share, if you want me to start with questions, or how you guys are doing on time, how you are doing on time.
I'm fine. I don't get to do this very often, so it's very cool. I think the best part for this would be throw it back to you guys if there's anything specific that I've said, or things that maybe I can help you with, or questions, or anything. You know, like, interaction is key on this stuff. Like, everybody has different life experiences. That's my life experience, very slimmed down in a nutshell, obviously, but it kind of gives you an idea of my life's path, and choices I've made to where I'm at today. And I don't know if any of that's relevant to any of you. If there's anything, I just throw it back at you, and I'm happy to answer it as honestly as I can. You know?
So Ian has the first question. Ian, you can unmute and you can go ahead.
All right. So definitely thanks for sharing. Can't see you. I'm just gonna ask this anyway. If you could like go back in time, you were about what, 16 when you started, you know, really performing and doing shows?
I was in Australia. I had a band when I was in high school. So I was probably 13 when I first started performing. And then I decided that that's what I wanted to do. 14, I got serious about it. By the time I was 14 or 15, I was doing paid shows in bars, and my parents had to like drive me to the gig and then wait at the gig, because obviously you're not allowed to be in a bar when you're a kid, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah,
Cool.
that was sort of when I started. I guess my first opportunity came when I was about 20 years old, and I was working as a guitar shop manager. I quit playing basketball. I played for 4 years in the pros, and I decided music was my path. So I took a job as a storeman, stacking boxes in the back of this guitar shop, just because I wanted to be around music. On my lunch break, I came out onto the floor, and I would sell more guitars in my lunch break than the manager did in the whole day, just because I like people, and as you can tell, I talk a lot. I love guitars. I was knowledgeable about guitars. So I would sell guitars just because I loved them. So within about 3 weeks, I got promoted from storeman to manager. And I was 20 years old managing the biggest guitar store in the city of Melbourne, which was pretty cool. And then I decided that I wanted to play, not work in a damn store. So I would be playing at night. And then we'd be in Australia, the sets would start at like midnight. You'd play till like 5 in the morning, and then I have to be at work at 8 a.m. So it was pretty difficult. I was falling asleep on the train going to work. And one day these guys were looking for a guitar player, and they had been in 2 big Australian bands. And I was their like young protege kind of find, So I joined that band, and I toured Australia, but there wasn't enough work for me to completely just be a musician. So I played in a cover band, in the city of Melbourne. And then that created the opportunity for Savage Garden to hear about me and to call me. And like I said, that goes back to what I'm saying. The lifetime of that opportunity is only relevant. The opportunity of a lifetime is only relevant when that opportunity presents itself. So if I hadn't have known when I was 14 that this was my path in life, and I'm going to have an undenying belief that I have to do it. And I didn't share one story with you, which is key to this, Ian, to your question. I was in high school, and I'd made the pros, and I got to come back to my school and talk as a basketball player. Prior to that, my first day of high school, it was in 1990 in the school, and my dad dropped me off, and I walked across the oval, the football field, and I'm walking into, and you can imagine this as a 15-year-old kid going into a brand new high school that you don't know anybody. I was a little bit shy and like, this sucks. So we're in class, and of course our first class was you had to get up in front of the class, tell everyone what you wanted to be when you grew up, Everyone, Timmy wants to be an architect. This guy wants to be a concreter. This guy wants to work on fishing boats. I want to be a rock star and a guitar, and a basketball player. Everyone laughed at me. And the teacher's like, yeah, you have to pick real jobs. And I go, they are real jobs. And the teacher said, no, seriously, you have to like pick a real job. I said, do you own a cassette tape? And they're like, yeah. I said, who do you think played on the cassette tape? Rock stars. I want to do that job. And then, have you ever seen basketball on TV? Of course you have. Somebody plays on those teams. I'm going to be one of those guys. So the teacher's just shaking their head. Go sit down, I
love it.
So that was my introduction to this high school. So that was weird. And when I made the pros, not too long later, like a year and a half later maybe, I came back to the school a few years later, and I went and found that teacher's class, and I knocked on the door, and I was in my team jersey and pants. And I walked in, and I'm like, remember me? I'm the kid that you said had to pick real jobs. I'm like, worked out pretty good, So I got to tell the class, I was just like, don't listen to anything this person says. If you have a dream, go after it, And that was because my parents were cool. Like, they supported me. My mom and dad, my dad drove me to practice 2.5 hours each direction, 5 days a week, so I could play on that level. I would do my homework in the car. I'd practice, then I would sleep in the car on the way home. My dad would drive hundreds of miles every day to give me the opportunity to be successful. And with music, my parents matched me dollar for dollar. If I wanted to get an expensive guitar, I had to save up the money doing odd jobs. And I said, I've got $800. They would put in $800, and I could buy a $1,600 instrument,
Wow.
And then if there was something I really needed, I would be like, hey, can I get this $3,000 guitar? It'll count for my birthday and Christmas for the next 4 years. You don't have to get me anything for like 4 years. And they're like, okay. So I like forfeited Christmas and birthdays just to get that one guitar, but that guitar ended up being life-changing. You know what I mean? And so if you have kids, or you're in a position to support other people and give them opportunity, that love and support goes a long way. When you feel that belief from somebody, it's hard you can't put a price on that. I see so many kids that don't have support from their parents, or musicians that are just kind of plodding along on their own with nobody helping them or mentoring them, or even things like today. Like, I got to meet the guitar player from Little River Band when I was up and coming, and he heard me play, and he took an interest in me. And the fact that he took an interest in me really fueled my fire and made me believe that I could actually do this. Like, I mean, like I've said, somebody has to be on that team. There has to be 12 people that wear those jerseys. Somebody has to play drums, guitars, and bass and sing in that band for us to enjoy the radio. Why can't it be me? Why can't it be you? You know, we're all human. We all have the same, you know, for relatively same skill set if we want to work hard enough at it, you know.
Perfect. While you said skill set, Aaron had the next question, which is kind of towards that. Do you want to ask it, Aaron, or me?
Yeah, sure, I can. I guess I just love that you talk so much about work ethic and actually like putting in the work and staying sharp, and even now, like not phoning it in, but like keeping it up, you know? And I was curious, what are some of the things you did while you were, whether it was through like growing in your profession, that like you found most useful and most helpful, and like to sharpen your skill set and stuff like that?
Okay. So I think the most important part of knowing your skill set is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. You know, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. Like, I know I'm not a great jazz guitar player, so I'm not going to go after a jazz gig, but I know I'm a hell of a rock guitar player. So I know where the shoe fits, you know what I mean? So having confidence in your own ability, like, I don't mind saying, yes, I'm very good at doing this. Yes, I'm the best in the world at being me, you know, and I sound like myself. Nobody else sounds like me. Nobody else sounds like me, and I'm the best version of myself than anyone else can be. Now, if that band happens to be needing me, then I'm the best guy for the job. If they need me to sound like, now for Lifehouse example, Jason is a great guitar player. He plays a lot of the guitars on the record, and then some studio guys play the other guitars on the record. The job for me with that band was, it's a very unique skill set to be able to come in, learn all the guitars on the record, and become Jason. Like, when I play the intro lick of Hanging by a Moment, it needs to sound like what you guys hear on the radio every time you hear it. And being able to make it sound exactly like it, not my own version of it, you know. And then studying the way Jason played took a lot of work, because he's a very individual, unique player. Just the same as if I was allowed to be myself, I'm a very individual, unique player. So figure out your skill set. You know, you got to understand there's different hats. When I'm going to go play guitar for my buddy Brett Young, so I know what I got to do. I put on the Brett Young hat. If I play guitar for Joe Nichols, a totally different country band, still in the same marketplace, but I got to be more traditional. So I got to think differently. I got to learn this toolkit. You know, it's like if you had 10 backpacks. I'm going to go play basketball tonight. I'm not going to take my hard hat and my work boots. I'm going to take my gym shorts and my basketball shoes. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing, figuring out where to put your work, you know, and the underlying belief in your skill set, and the difference between being confident and arrogant. You know, like, I'm really confident in my ability. I also know, at a meeting this morning, I also know what I'm not good at. I'm not going to put myself in a position to not succeed, you know. So I think a lot of people just go after everything, and you really got to think about, all right, is it smart for me to put effort into that, or put all the effort into this because I really know I can do this, you know? I don't know if that answers your question. I get a little diverted, but like for me, the quarantine COVID situation, I didn't want to come out the side of 3 months later and not be a better version of myself. So I set myself goals every day. I needed to learn how to use a software. I needed to learn how to go in and make a record. I've produced many records and played on it, countless hits, but I've always had an engineer in a studio do it. I want to do it myself. You know, I want to understand how to do it. It's a lot of work being able to produce a world-class product, you know. So that was my aim for the, you know, it still is. Like I said, every day I come in here, and it's, excuse me, I got the hiccups. It's sacrifice to your, if you have kids, if you have a husband, you have family, whatever you have, it's time that you have to put in, and the people around you have to be understanding of that.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes being an artist sucks because it happens when it happens. Like, I got this idea, I got to get it out. You know, like last night I was in the middle of recording a track and my son's waiting for me and he's hungry and he needs to get out of here. But sorry, son, I can't leave. I got to get this down. Come in and see what I'm doing. We'll get out as fast as I can. It took an hour, but he understands that I'm not going to make him wait an hour if I don't have to. But I had to get that idea out, you know. So again, just focus, energy, time. You just got to work at it, you know. And also homework. Do your research. Find people that are better than you. You know, there's a million guitar players on this earth that are better than me. So I go study them and figure out what they do. What's in their bag of tricks that I can learn from? What's in my bag of tricks that they don't have? And then you start figuring out your niche. And like I said, there's a lot of guitar players that smoke me for sure, but it's not like a basketball game. If I score more points than you, I'm better than you and I win. If I play more notes on a record, doesn't mean I win or it's a better song. You know, it's the right notes in the right place. Music is art. Who am I to say your music sucks and mine's awesome? No, you know, you got to play from here and facilitate it from here. And as long as it's honest and you put that and have that coming out of the speakers, the rest is up to the people, you know. So it doesn't mean it's good or bad. I mean, once you get to a competent level, if you're playing out of tune and you actually do suck, well, then that's a little bit of a different story. But you know,
fair enough. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight.
Welcome.
And the next question is Tara. Yeah.
Hey, Tara.
Thanks so much for coming on and answering questions and all that. I was just wondering about, I mean, everything, but tour life.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably a lot of different aspects, you know, because you came on and it was a professional, you know, it wasn't like you were, I don't know, you were kind of coming into something already ingrained. Someone was, I'm sure, setting your schedule and, you know, I want to know your role and things that you observed around other people. And maybe like when your wife came and maybe the things that she saw, you know, like an objective, you know, just to talk about that.
Okay. So there's two parts to that question. First part, when I first got the gig with Savage Garden, I was 22 years old. My life changed in a phone call and a week. The phone call comes, you go and do the audition. And next thing you know, we've got a #1 hit on the radio everywhere in the world. When I started in the band, no one really knew Savage Garden. We were carrying our guitars through the airports, struggling through with our bags in airports, and I was making 350 Australian dollars a week, which is about $4 US, you know. So we were definitely not killing it. But then Rosie O'Donnell got hold of the song I Want You and the Chicka-Cherry Cola song, America knew it as. And the thing blew up and went #4 on the Billboard chart. And we went from 0 to hero in a matter of 6 days. So my life already got turned on its ear. Like, hey, we're going to be in this band and we're going to go do this. And we've got a huge hit on the radio. Now we're private jets and we can't keep up with the schedule. As a young kid, you can't learn, like, to be a good free throw shooter, I can practice. To be a great guitar player, I can practice, but you can't practice for being famous. You can't practice for that schedule. Like, when you're thrown into everything that's not normal, like you get thrown on a radio tour run with a hit around the world and you're doing 3 countries a day, you're in a private jet, you don't even know what language they're speaking when you get off the jet. And I was 22 years old, my eyes were this big, like, what the hell is going on? The only thing I knew how to do was be on stage and do this. The rest of it, we had to figure out as we went. And this is where a lot of artists fall over is, you know, you fall into the party lifestyle, you fall into, even just on a dietary side for me, it's hard to eat well on the road. I'm a vegetarian. And when you're in a tour bus traveling between truck stops and airports, you know, there's only so many times you can have cheese pizza. You know what I mean? It becomes unfun really quick, you know? And that's where you really got to start making an effort on your lifestyle and what you need to do for you, how you need to get rest, how you need to focus, how you need to stay normal. I was a kid from a tiny country town, but all of a sudden was in a massively famous band, playing on every TV show in the world, hanging out with movie stars and rock stars. And it's very easy to get swallowed up in that and start, what I say, believing the bullshit, you know? I'm really lucky to have great friends like Bex, that she didn't care I was in a band. She just liked me because she liked me. I liked her because I liked her, you know? Like, we're normal people. When you have those, you surround yourself with the right people, it's pretty hard to become, you know, too big for your britches, so to speak, you know, because your friends will slap you down pretty quick if they're real friends. You know, my dad would kick my ass if I ever stepped out of line and became not a good person, you know? You know, he's 78 and he still would put his foot up my butt, you know? And as far as the tour bus life, again, you can't, once you do it, you just kind of figure it out. Like, you figure out how you function. When I started with Lifehouse, we were definitely not killing it. The band was trying to come back from kind of disappearing. We had 14 dudes living in one tour bus for like 6 months at a time. And living on a bus with 14 people is definitely not glamorous. You know, when you come home and some clown's got his socks and shoes in the food drawer, that ain't fun. Or his work boots from a hard day in a venue sitting on the bench where you're going to sit down and eat. No, you know, I don't want to be around that. So you have to figure out your people skills, you know, how to function in that environment, how to be okay in your tiny little bunk where my elbow touches the bottom of the bunk and my fingers touch the roof. That's how much space you have. You roll in and you pull the curtain closed, and that's your only bit of serenity in this, I hate to say coffin, but that's what it feels like. You're kind of like, oh man, you know? So finding a way to function and be yourself and stay yourself. Moving all the way forward to my wife coming on the road, everything you do in life on the road is abnormal to people at home. And everything that's normal to me is, you know, it's just opposite. So early on in the days when I was having huge success in Lifehouse, I lived in LA, and I had a small group of core friends, and I would come home from tour, and the hardest thing I found to get my head around was sharing common things, like, without sounding like an asshole, you know, like, what did you do today? Well, I hung out with Mike Tyson and Heidi Klum and we went here. That's not normal, you know. What did you do today? I went to Steven Seagal's house and we walked around his racetrack like weird little, like, creatures. It was the strangest day of my life. That's not a normal day. That's a whole nother story, you know. Guy's a nut job, you know. But what did you do today? Yeah, I picked the kids up from school and I went and worked at the accountant firm, and I can't wait to get out. Now I'm home. You lack commonality. So I found, for me, the best thing was to not share my day. I would be really interested in their day. And how was your day? Oh, it was cool. What did you do? I just did a show. Nothing. Same. It's like Groundhog Day, the movie. Every day is the same day, just slightly different colored seats in the auditorium. You know, if that makes sense. The sharing common things with the people that are important in your life is really difficult when you're on the road. So my girl never understood life on the road because she'd never done it before. It doesn't matter how much you tell somebody something. Like, I see Wade, his view right now is interesting. I'm sitting in a studio, he's on top of a damn building. You know, I'm not going to understand that life or what he's explaining to me until I try and go and do it, you know, and vice versa, you know. So it's an interesting headspace, you know, trying to, especially when it's someone important like your partner that you choose. It's a hard job for someone to be married to somebody like me, you know, because we tick differently, we work differently, not on purpose, you know, just the way we're built. And that's probably why we're successful at what we do. You know, I don't know if that answers your question at all, Tara.
Yeah, it's more than what I would, already know. So
That was
yeah.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, real quick question for Wade. He can't ask because he's doing that stuff. What was the pro basketball league you tried out for?
I played in the NBL, which is in Australia. It's a National Basketball League. I played. My first contract was in the CBA, which is this. We have like the NBA and the D League. We have the CBA and the NBL. So in high school, I played 2 years in the CBA, and I actually had to have my parents go to the Board of Education and ask for a special leave of absence and do an extra year of high school because I was only able to complete half the amount of work because I was traveling so much. So when all my friends graduated, I stayed on for an extra year of high school because I had to finish half the work that I didn't get done that year. So I did my senior year of high school over 2 years while I was playing in the CBA. I went to the city of Melbourne and worked out for an American coach who was going to send me to college in America. And I worked out for him, and he said, I want to keep you for the national squad here in a team called the Magic. Would you stay and play for me? I'm like, that was my team that I loved as a kid. It was a dream come true. So I said, yeah. So I played for 2 years in the National League in Australia. And my teammates, so we had 3 Olympians on my team that played for Australia. And one of my guys ended up playing for the Chicago Bulls, a guy named Chris Anstey. And a few of my teammates, yeah, go Bulls, right? And Chris Anstey played for the Bulls. Sam McKinnon came over. He was my teammate. He played for the Timberwolves. I played against Shane Heal. He played for the Timberwolves. Andrew Gaze was a very famous Australian basketball player. Played for Minnesota as well. He also played college ball at Seton Hall. So that was kind of the class of people that I was playing in. Then when I came to America, I didn't play basketball for a long time because I didn't want to hurt my hands. But then I started playing. So in LA, where I lived, I played in the summer pro runs with Tracy Murray and Cam Murray, Lamont Murray, Casey Jacobson, the Bone Collector and the Professor from M1. So that was our what was the name of the big center? Sean Rooks. He was another one. I got my neighbor right now is Jordan Farmer. So we play together in a local Las Vegas league. Kind of funny, in our league, we have 4 or 5 NBA players. It's a pretty good league. So I still get to play, but I'm getting old now, man. So the room feels like it's 15 feet high. So,
That's so awesome. And then throw it over to Doug. He had a sports question, I think.
Sure did. I got to know, I guess I had a question prepped and then I'm like, no, this has got to be the question. So you got to tell me, did you ever meet MJ?
I didn't. That would be a dream. Yeah,
Foiled.
Totally.
Foiled.
It's funny meeting people that really are influential in your life. Sometimes it's a massive letdown.
Yes.
I'm sure for you guys, meeting this guy dressed like a bum, massive letdown,
So, no, not at all. Not at all.
So meeting, obviously not comparing meeting me and Michael Jordan. That's a very strange sentence right there. But I'm a massive Michael Jordan fan, and he was so inspiring to me. Like that movie he made, Come Fly With Me.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I used to watch it every day, and I had it on video. I wore the videotape out. We didn't get basketball in Australia like you guys have it on TV. So we had to have a friend in America record it onto the videotape, mail it to Australia, transfer that tape to our format. And then we had one videotape to share between the 12 people that helped pay for it to get there.
Wow.
So I got to have the playoff series, one tape at a time. I got to have it for a week. So I just watched the games for a week, Then I give it to the next guy and he watched it for a week. And eventually the tape broke, and we're going to get another one. So I'm sure you've seen The Last Dance on ESPN.
Absolutely. So good.
It's so good. And it takes me back to being a kid. A lot of the things that he's talking about, that work ethic and that burning desire to be good at something and not settle and not listen to anybody else. That's something that I guess came from Michael Jordan, from me with the help of my parents, just having that undeniable belief that you're going to do it and that you can do it. You can achieve it. Yeah. Never got to meet him. I've heard both good and bad stories, so I'm a little reluctant. like, I don't want to meet him and he'd be total ass clown. You know, that would be a bummer. You know, I've met some musicians that I'll share a Bon Jovi story real quick.
That should be
My
good.
very first gig, it's amazing. I'll try and make it fast. I'm sorry, Bex, I talk a lot, but
Love it.
the day my very first gig was Savage Garden. I was 22 years old and a massive Bon Jovi fan, had all their records. And I'm playing with Bon Jovi in the Gandhi Arena in Delhi, India.
Wow.
Strange sentence for a 22-year-old kid that a week ago was playing in a bar to 12 people. You know, I roll up, I'm having breakfast with Gwen Stefani and the dudes and No Doubt, hanging out with the Spice Girls, and then they all leave and Bon Jovi's there. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Bon Jovi. That's awesome. So I'm not a starstruck person. I'm a pretty respectful guy. I just wanted to say hi and thank you for the music, you know? So where he's getting a salad, I'm getting a salad. And I'm like, hey, John, my name's Ben. I'm on the bill with you guys. And I just wanted to say, it's really great meeting you and thank you for all the music. And he was a total asshole, like total, blew me off. Just kind of looked at me like, whatever, man. And just blows me off. And I'm like, I'm gonna punch you in the face right now. Then, you know, that's exactly what I thought. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
Sorry, man.
So yeah, so it was a bummer, but there's good to this story. So I go back to the hotel room and I used to carry this bag of CDs around with me. You know, I took all the Bon Jovi records out and tossed them in the trash. I'm like, screw that guy. You know, many years later, I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel and I'm walking down the hallway. I look to my right and in the gym, there's this giant gorilla and Bon Jovi, you know, giant security guy sitting there. Like, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in and say hi. So I went in, the security guy was like, you can't come in here, sir. And I said, well, firstly, I'm not a sir, but thank you. And secondly, I'm a friend of John's. He knows me. He's probably cool if I say hi. So I could see John look, he was doing the pull down machine. He looks over from behind the weights and he's like, he said, yeah, he's cool. I know him. I don't know why I know him, but I do. And I walked up, I said, look, you're not really going to remember me, but my name's Ben. It's good to see you again. And he goes, where do I know you from? I said, I was in the band Savage Garden and we played together in India. And he goes, oh my God. He goes, how was I? And I said, you're a total asshole, you know? And he just starts laughing. And I said, sorry, man, but you were like just a total jerk. And I was extremely disappointed. I saw you right now and I wanted to come and tell you that because I never told you that day. And I'm really upset with myself for not being honest. And he goes, that was a really tough time in my life and it's no excuse for being the way I was, but I hope you'll accept my apology. I said, absolutely. Yeah. And we shook hands. He goes, you want to hang out? I'm like, yeah. So we sat and talked for like an hour and a half. I totally screwed his workout up. We talked about the music business and bands, and we had a couple of common friends at this point. And I was living at the guitar player from Def Leppard's house at the time. And Phil and John have been buddies and played together a long time. And so there's a lot of common ground, you know. So I felt comfortable being able to be honest and tell him exactly how I felt and how he treated me as a 22-year-old kid. Many years later, how things are different, you know, and we ended up playing a few shows together over the next couple of years. And when I'm leaving that day, one thing I'll never forget, he's talking about the music business and being a great business person. And he goes, what are you going to do when you get home? I just kind of laughed. I said, yeah, I'm going to buy all your records again. He said, see, I'm a great business guy, you know? So, right. So that my really negative situation turned out to be one of the most positive things in my life. And some of the advice he gave me is just, you can't buy that advice. This is one of the greatest songwriters, musicians, and greatest music business people of all time. Like to have, whether you love or hate Bon Jovi, you can't take away just what a legacy they've left and how many hits they've written. Again, you don't have to be a fan of anyone's genre, but you have to respect the work that goes into to not having one hit, having 20 or 30 hits and selling out arena after arena. And, you know, he doesn't step out of his door for less than $1 million. I mean, that guy started playing in bars for free, you know, and it's impressive that he's able to do that and maintain that, you know, and still be a humble person in the process, you know.
That's the biggest
Even
part
though
right
he had
there.
it. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And so going back to your Michael Jordan thing, if I met him and he was a jerk, it'd really crush me. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I want to meet him,
Yeah.
but it would be cool,
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Thank you so much, man. That's such a great story.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask another question, and then Pastor Steve will be right after me. This one is, so I love the parallel of sport and music. What are other sports lessons that can apply to music growth?
Sorry, say that one more time, Bex.
I love the parallel of sport and music. What
Mm-hmm.
other sports lessons can apply to music growth?
Man, all of them. I think, but the thing we come back to, and the thing that I think Erin had said earlier, the thing that seems glaringly obvious to her, and I'm sure it is to all of you, work ethic. When you're an athlete on any level, you can't go out and play hockey or lift weights, volleyball, basketball, and not be in shape. And not, I mean, you can, but you're going to hate it, and you're probably not going to be good at it. To achieve not just sports, but it comes from sports for me, to be in shape and to push your body through physical pain that you don't want to do. Like, no one likes running 10 miles. When your lungs are burning and your teeth are hurting and you don't think you can take another step, but you can take more steps. You can do all that. You just got to push yourself through it. You just got to want it. That work ethic, that's what I take into every day, whether it's, for me, I chose music. So my vocation as a musician, as an athlete, being able to push yourself through adversity, being able to focus your attention on what needs to be done. And that all falls under the work ethic and time banner for me. You just got to outwork the person, and you got to want it. You got to really want it. And if you want to just play guitar for fun, learn a few chords and play at a campfire, great. I don't want to do that. I want to play to 100,000 people, and I want to sell millions of records, and I want to be a rock star for the right reasons. I want to play music. I've never done a drug in my life. I've never had a drink, but I tell you what, standing backstage, waiting here in the crowd, I get hair stand up on my arms thinking about it. Like, it's that 90 minutes of the day that I'm up there makes the other 22 and a half hours of the day worth it. The other 22 and a half hours sucks, but that 90 minutes is unbelievable, So I guess you could say I'm an addict, it's, so that work ethic and that desire, that burning desire to have to do it. And like I tell my son, he plays basketball. He doesn't really want to work hard at it. He just plays because he likes it. It's fun. That's great. But you're never really going to be good at it. You might have natural talent and you might be okay at it, but to really go to the next level at anything you do, you have to study, you have to put in time, you have to put in work, so you got to figure out what it is that you're chasing in life and how that fits in as a musician. How does that, what can you do that, like, all of us are here today. You're all listening to a story of somebody that you don't know. I can share you my real life stories. They're real life. I'm from a tiny country town in Australia where everyone laughed at me and said it wasn't possible. And now I've been in not just one or two or three. I've played in some of the biggest acts in the world in multiple genres of music. That shouldn't be possible, but it is. You guys are far ahead of the game than I was, because you live in America and Canada. That's a great step in the right direction for a start, So if you want to achieve it, go achieve it. Just whatever that is you want, you just got to put in the time and the effort and the work to do it.
Awesome. Pastor Steve, go.
Sure. Hey, this is awesome. And I just want to thank you, Ben. And Bex, you're awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Ben,
Cheers, man.
I really love your stories. And you continue to share a variation of a Leonard Ravenhill quote of the opportunities of a lifetime are seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. And your life of not doing drugs, not doing alcohol, you've talked about that. And you're a tremendous storyteller, which is awesome. God has this big story that we all live in. Do you find your platform allows you to share your story within God's story? And if so, what is the response that you get from people as you begin to tell God's story through your life?
I hesitate to say this. I don't feel I do tell God's story. Not in the way that I'm pretending to not be that way. It's just, I've never been a talk about it guy unless it's a situation where, like this morning, as I said, I don't know how long I've known Bex. She had no idea that I even had a faith. I don't really talk about it. I just try and be about it, you know? Now, necessarily, am I being about a faith-driven life? Not really. And I'm not saying I'm not having that belief on a daily basis. It's just more of a thing that's in here that I take the approach of, I want to be the very best version of myself and be a better example to, what could I do? I think in a marriage, for example, if I don't wake up in the morning and think, what can I do today to make my wife's day better? If you don't have that attitude in any relationship, I don't think the relationship's really going to last or grow into anything worthwhile. So my relationship, I think with the faith side of stuff is a very personal thing, but I think it shines in the sense of when Bex met me, she met 5 other dudes that were all in big bands that day too, but they're not really friends with Bex, but I am. She saw something in me that shined, that she was attracted to like, I want to be friends with that guy. He seems like a nice guy, or, and I'm pretty consistent, I feel, across the board with the people that I'm around, the people I choose to be with. For me, faith-based early on in my life, where I had to make decisions to not play on a Friday night, not play on a Saturday, to all the way, yes, I am going to play on a Friday and a Saturday, that would bring light to the situation. Well, I grew up like this. I do believe in this, and I'm not going to do these things, or I am going to do these things, or this is the way I'm going to live my life. Again, the be about it part is just, it's not really like, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking the faith side of it at all. I'm not at all. I just definitely live by, I try and be just the best I can be, and I fall short every day, I'm sure. Ask my wife, I'm sure she'd say that. We can always do more, but I'm out in the bars here in Las Vegas, and to set an example to my kids that are not my children, but I call them my band kids. Just because you have an unlimited drink tab doesn't mean you should go and get shit-faced every night and be disrespectful. Just because you're successful in a band doesn't mean you can do and say whatever you want to women or people around you and treat them like crap because you got a hit on the radio. I think if you're successful in life, and then when people meet you and they find out that you're a real person that has emotions and feelings, and you breathe, and you go to sleep at night, you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth like everybody else, and you have bad days and you have good days. If you're honest and open about that within reason, I think that by far has a better effect on most people than standing there, for want of a better word. And I know you're not saying this, Steve, but preaching at them. I found as a kid that was a massive turn off for me. When people would, people in the church would be like, just really narrow-minded and kind of mean. Like, that wasn't Christianity to me. Christianity was about being great to your neighbor. Like, look at what's going on in the world right now, all these riots and stuff. That's not about racism to me. That's not about color. That's not about whether you're black, green, yellow, white, rainbow, purple, blue. That's about being a human. Like, we're all human. We're all in the human race. The rioters that are stealing and hurting and killing and throwing, it's got nothing to do with culture or anything. That's just got to do with, you're an idiot. I don't care what color you are. It makes no difference. Being an idiot is not discriminatory to any race. And I find if I can be an example of, loving my fellow humans, then they're going to love me back. I find most people just want to be cool people. There's always exceptions to the rule in every situation. So for me, if I'm out in those environments, I just try and not be a clown. If I try and, if someone is being a clown, like, maybe steer them in the right direction by example rather than telling them. Does that make sense at all?
No, I thank you for that. And and for you being open. You know, we sometimes actions do speak louder than words, and we need to realize. And I was just curious, with your platform and the way you live your life, does it lead to moments of deeper conversation about doing
100%. I guess I missed that point in the question. So the platform itself, sorry to cut you off. Obviously, if we're doing radio interviews or things like, I mean, this is I've never done this before. I've obviously spoken, you know, motivational kind of stuff. You know, people will have me come in and talk about my story, and it's a cool story. And I shouldn't have been able to achieve what I achieved or what I want to achieve. The platform we're given, I think, is super disrespectful when artists get really political, or they get really, you know, opinionistic about things that, you know, if you're a celebrity, and I wouldn't call myself a celebrity by any stretch of the imagination, but I have been in some pretty cool bands, you know. So the platform that we have and that I have access to, I do get a chance to address more people than most. And sometimes what I say people will listen to, and I don't think it's our place. As a guitar player, I'm not a politician. You know, like, I might have my beliefs, I might have my theories on things, but I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing to blab it out to the world and try and influence people either way. Like I said, if you just live your life and be cool, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, you're going to respond to that. You know, you're going to, you know, even if you don't like my music and you see me playing and you know my heart and soul's in it, you're going to appreciate it. You're going to know that I'm good at it, and I'm going to connect with you somehow. You know, I find radio interviews that are more than a meet and greet kind of thing are a pretty cool platform to share your story, in the sense that people buy into your brand. And I don't necessarily mean that monetarily, but it does eventually trickle down to monetarily. This is the music business. I'm in the business of making music. That's how I support my family. So if I do a radio interview and you're listening, just like you all have taken, all of our time is valuable. You know, we've all been here respectful of each other's time, and you're listening to me talk about my story. So you buy into me as a person. At that point, you care about me a little more than you did an hour ago. So maybe you do want to check out my music. Maybe you will tell your friends to go check out the stuff on Spotify. So that times 20, times 20, times 20, just from the fact of being honest and sharing, I might have 300 people listen to a tune today that otherwise wouldn't, you know? So I think you're always your best business card in the platform I'm given. Whereas to people that don't have hits on the radio, or not in that spot, and given that opportunity to talk to the same people all the time, like I get to talk to different people all the time, you know, and it is cool, you know, it is different. But I do think on the faith side of stuff, don't really talk about it. Just try and be the best version of me that I can.
That's awesome. Yes. So I think I was putting in the chat, when I first met Ben, I just had come to my faith. I just surrendered my life to the Lord, and I was on fire. And I've still been on fire, as you guys all know me throughout my life. But it was like, we all have different giftings, and we all have a way of sharing our story. And I just think it's pretty amazing that, like, you know, like as Ben was saying, I didn't care that he was in a band. I didn't even know he was really with Lifehouse. And he didn't really care, like, you know, it was just like, we're good people, right? But I think it's just so amazing that, like, in our growth of our friendship, 10 years later, now we're in this Zoom with all of you guys, and we're talking about God, we're talking about his story, we're talking about music, we're talking about all these different things. And it's like, I think that's just a testimony in itself, because we all don't have sometimes the gifting of preaching. Sometimes I do want to share God's story in a way that, like, is so passionate, like Pastor Steve, but I think I'm going to mess it up. And like, I just love when Pastor Steve talks. But then it's like, you know, when Ben's speaking, people are like, oh, God has favor on him, and he has a way of reaching people in a way that maybe Steve wouldn't. And then Steve can reach people in a way that Ben wouldn't. And then so I just think that's beautiful. And I thank you, Ben, for sharing that story. Thank you, Pastor Steve, for also asking that question. I know we're running a little long, and I know you love it, and Ben's here for us, so I'm like so grateful for that. And we have a couple more questions, and he's going to give us a tour. But Christelle, I don't know if you want to just show yourself on camera. She said she wants me to ask you the question, but if it's not understandable because she didn't know how to ask it, she'll elaborate on it. So that's Christelle. She said, what are your thoughts, advice on someone who has a desire to be a traveling musician? Wait, you're currently run a producing studio, but what do you need to do or steps to take to be a traveling musician? I'm not really sure how to ask the question.
Okay, buy a van. Sorry, I just had to say that. So we bought a tour bus. That was the dumbest business decision we ever made. $5 a mile. That was expensive. No. So in all seriousness, that's almost, and respectfully saying, why is the sky blue? Or how long is a piece of string? You know, my path to get here was very unique, as to your path will be very unique. What do you got to do to be a traveling musician? Now, literally, if you think about that, it's pretty easy to answer. You figure out where you want to travel, you call and you book a show, you buy a van or your car, you load it up and you go. And you travel on blind faith that that's it. Now, obviously, that's not what you're asking when you ask that question. So I'm going to throw it back to you and say, what do you think you need to do after listening to some of my stories? Like, again, I go back to the work ethic thing. Now, I know we all have dreams. Now, maybe as a little kid, I wanted to fly. I know I'm not going to be able to fly. I'm just not going to grow feathers and fly. So our dreams have to be realistic. So you have to take a look at your skill set that God gave you that's in here and figure out what you're capable of as a human. Then figure out what you think you're good at and then go after it. Be the very, very, very best you can at that. Then take a real honest look and go, okay, this is cool. And people respond to when I play guitar or when I sing songs or when I write songs. Doesn't mean you have to be the best guitar player. Doesn't mean you have to be the best singer. Doesn't mean you have to be the best looking. None of that. Just all you have to do is connect with people. We're in the business of connecting with people. Just the same as when Pastor Steve will talk, he's in the business of connecting with you. He needs you to connect and believe the words that are coming out of his mouth, or at the very least, challenge your intelligence to think about it for yourself. So my job for you, I forget the name who asked the question.
Christelle, but I think she was asking for her musician friend.
Okay, so Christelle, what I'm going to challenge you with is you got to figure out what it is that you or your friend is good at. What can I challenge you with? What can you challenge your listeners with to buy into your brand? What are you good at? What are you better at than anybody else on earth that's going to make me want to spend my hard-earned money on a ticket to see you play? Are you telling stories that really pull at my heartstrings? Or are you just such a phenomenal musician that I have to see you play? Or maybe you're a combination of both, or maybe you're the prettiest human that's ever been on earth and I just have to stare at you. Like all of these things are relevant. Like it's just connecting with your audience. And as you know, you can look at musicians, every race, every color, every language, every version of in shape, out of shape, green hair, blue hair, no hair, they've all been successful. Now we can all say that there's people that we love on the radio and in the movies. Then there's also being a man. I know what I'm attracted to as far as women goes. Then I see some people that are super famous and they're actresses and they're supposed to be hot. They're not hot to me, but maybe they are to somebody else, So you have to find out what it is that you're good at and really work at that skill and connect with people and not just a conversation. You have to, if I was telling crap stories that were obviously not true, there's no way any of you would waste your time sitting here listening to me speak, and the same thing, if I was talking to a bunch of people that didn't want to pay attention or spend the time with me, I wouldn't want to waste my time either, so it's the same when I'm performing. I don't want to be playing to an audience that doesn't want to listen to me. That's the most uncomfortable feeling in the world. When you're playing and you look down at the concrete and you wish it was quicksand and it would swallow you up. We've all been there. It's like, I can get off the stage fast enough, So finding out, how to connect and how to have the people believe you. It's about being believable. Whatever you're saying has to be honest, has to come from the heart, because if it doesn't, it's see-through, it's transparent. And that's not just with music, that's in anything in life. If you're honest and hardworking and people believe you, then they're going to invest into you, not just monetarily, support wise, emotionally, all of that. You feel all of it. But and that's just, I think music for me, it's a life choice. It being an athlete is a life choice. It's a choice to sacrifice, and it's a choice to work hard. It's a choice to be in this room on my own and work until I know how to do it. And then I'm going to go out and play to people, and they're going to enjoy it. Or maybe they won't. If they won't, they'll leave and somebody else will come in, But I know, like I said, I've figured out what my skill set is. I've also figured out what I need to do to get better. And even though I've been successful, it doesn't mean I'm going to sit on my butt and not work hard,
Thank you. That spoke to me because I feel like one of the things I'm really good at is connecting people to each other and inviting them into safe places. And I feel like that's another reason. Yes, you love Lifehouse, and maybe you love Ben, and you love music, and you love God. But I feel like, another reason of why you're all here is because of your connection with me, your relationship with me, and the consistency you've seen with the events I've invited you to. So I'm just really so happy that you guys are all here and that we're all a little family. So we just have a couple more questions. Dana, you're next.
Unmute myself. First off, I want to say thank you, Bex, for putting this on and inviting me. And I'm sorry I was late. I never get to talk to my sister who's in Florida, and she had messaged me right before. She's like, I can jump on. I'm like, So I wanted to make sure that I could get her when I could. But and then Ben, thank you so much for your story. And it's just so cool. Even though you have a story that's kind of when you were talking about being insecure of how it's not normal, that still brings so much inspiration, because it's kind of it gives people hope of the fairy tale, which does come from hard work and all this stuff. But I have a bunch of questions here. I'm not going to ask them all, so I was trying to narrow it down. And I guess there's a few things. First, just asking about okay, so you mentioned a business, what does that mentorship program look like? And then also, it really touched me a little bit ago when you were like, you got to figure out, what am I chasing? When you were like, you got to figure out what are you chasing? And especially in the season I am in my life, worked for corporate my whole life, I know I'm very good at sales. I'm very good at operations, administration, all this stuff. I come in, help streamline, fix things. And then it seems like over the last 4 years, God has been pulling me out of these companies. And I find myself right now, especially with COVID, not having a job. And I'm just okay, now what am I doing? And as an athlete myself, I did play basketball too. So I love basketball analogies. When you don't have something, when you don't know what you're chasing, you kind of fall into that. So it's kind of especially when everything I do, the work product, I want it to be of excellence. So it's just knowing. So one thing I've been doing is just kind of, and I have a couple ideas that I'm working on and making sure I'm poking those fire coals with my iron. But one thing you just said also was about, connecting with people. And one thing I did with Bex just recently, you live in Vegas, I live in Vegas. I'm just trying to offer up I'm asking people who I have come to know and admire, what do you need help with? And how can I help you without even asking for payment or anything? I just want to learn, you know what I mean? Or I just so those are kind of, what's your mentorship program look like? And then also, your daily schedule, your self-care routine, you put so much discipline into your work, and it just seems do you have, cause that's kind of what I specialize in, is helping to streamline things.
Right. as far as the program, we don't really have a specific program. I tend to find if there's people that it's worth it. Now, this is a different set of circumstances because all you guys are very special to someone who's very special to me. So if she called me and said, hey, my friend Dana needs help with something, can you help? Answer is yes, of course it is. You know, because if she's special to you, then she's probably cool. So then, yeah, I'm going to absolutely do whatever I can for any of you guys. Just the same as if I called Bex and said I need help with something, she'd source out one of you guys who would help me out, you know? What I generally do with my musicians, strictly speaking, on a business level is if I find someone that I think's got talent that are worth my time, I'll put time into them, and they'll have an allotted amount of my attention for an allotted amount of time. Like if I ask you to do this, this, and this for a reason that maybe you don't understand, but obviously I think I understand better than you do at what it takes to be successful at what I do, because I've already done it. You haven't. So when I offer this advice to these young musicians, it may seem like a little bit of a dictatorship, so to speak, but it's for a reason. And I tell them, hey, I'm going to give you this advice. I'm going to ask you to do these things, and you can do it or you cannot do it. It doesn't matter to me. If you want to be successful, you're going to listen to me. If you don't, if you think you know better than me, good luck. You know, I'll help you as much as it makes sense on a business level. There's some musicians that work for me that I've given advice to and they don't want to listen to, but I still am able to book and I make money from them, but I don't waste my time with them. Time is valuable. Can't get time back. But if I've got a musician that maybe I'm not making money with, but I really believe in them and they really want to get better and they're doing the work, as much as it pains me sometimes, I'll put in the time because somebody put in time into me. My parents put in a shitload of time to me. Other mentors put in their time, like Steve Houston from the Little River Band. To share another small story, my dad drove me 2 hours to this guitar shop to watch a guitar workshop from this virtuoso. He wanted someone in the audience to get up and play. So I put my hand up before anyone else did, and I was like 15. And he goes, okay, you want to get up and play? I said, oh, hell yeah, I want to jam with you. So he's like, what do you want to play? I said, I don't know. I just started playing this little progression. And we played for like 10 minutes in front of the whole audience. And at the end, he found my dad and said, hey, your kid's really special. He's got something. I'd like to help. Here's my phone number. And this is a super famous guitar player. Gave his number to my dad. We never called him because we didn't want to bother him. You know, we're just country folk from the middle of nowhere, right? I just thought he was being nice. So I went back to my town, practiced my guitar. About 6 months later, he was coming around again to do another clinic. He called ahead to the store to make sure that they got in touch with this young kid and that young kid was there. So I showed up again and he was like, hey, what's up? You never called me. And I'm like, well, we didn't want to bother you. You're busy. And, you know, and he's like, hey, I gave you my number for a reason. Call me. So we become very good friends. So when someone takes an interest in you, he told me all that I had to do to repay him was take an interest in somebody else. If you're ever in a position, help, you know? So as far as mentorship goes, obviously I have taste and I have business sense and my business is very successful, not anymore because of COVID. So don't feel special that you don't have a job. We're all in the same boat, you know? So once we get back to life as normal and we get back to business, I'm very good at that because I know what works in the rooms. I know who's talented. I know who isn't. I know who's worth my time. But if someone's got that desire and I can help them, obviously I'm going to do what I can. You know, you're in Vegas. If you want to help, right now there's not a lot to do, but I'd be happy to, you know, meet up with you and, you know, hear your story and what your skill set is and figure out if there is something that one can make you better at what you do. And if that helps something we're doing too, awesome. You know,
awesome.
Yeah, and in life in general, running around in circles and not knowing where to run is tiring, you know. And I had this conversation with my buddy while I was almost late to the Zoom meeting. Was this COVID thing? The lifestyle in COVID is actually pretty cool, minus the financial hardship. You know, like I like it. I like being in the studio. I like going home and being with my family and not running around like a crazy person in bars and casinos and tour buses and stuff. But, you know, when what is really important in life, he was talking about his brother that lives in Byron Bay. And I said, you know, all this time we spend chasing stuff, whether it's craft, you know, our craft or monetary things, or for me, I love Harleys and hot rods. Man, I will chase that till the day I don't breathe. But does it really matter? It doesn't. But it's hard to say that because it's in us. You know what I mean? Like, what we really need, you need food and shelter and the people around you that you love. That's all you really need. But it's hard in today's society to actually be idealistic and think like that. So I think my advice to you is, corporate world's one thing and you can always go back to it. You'll always be good at that.
Yeah.
If you've got a flame burning somewhere, figure out what that flame is and pour petrol on it.
Yeah.
You know, like you're in a unique position right now where you don't have a job anyway, so you're not losing anything.
Yeah.
You're not risking anything. So figure it out and jump in the deep end and learn how to swim. You know, it's the best way to do it. Like if you've got a desire to do something, figure it out. You like, who am I to say that you can't do it? You can absolutely do it. It just, I mean, obviously, like I said, you got to back it up with real. Like you can't. It's like the tough guy in a bar that's all bark and no bite. He's meh, but you got nothing to back it up. It's the quiet guy in the corner that doesn't say anything you've got to worry about. You know, so you know, it's best to figure out what you want and walk the talk the walk. Like, figure out what you really love in life. You're in a unique position right now. Most of us probably are in a unique position where we're financially free of kind of anything because nobody has any money or jobs anyway. So what are we going to do with it? You know, like, all right, I know for me, I want to be in the studio a little bit more and I want to go out and I want to do more shows. So that's what I'm focusing on. You know, I want to make records and I want to do different kind of shows than I did prior to COVID. So that's what I'm working on. So you got to figure out for you what that is and what your next step is in achieving that. And part of that is being smart enough to figure out what you don't know and ask people who do.
Yeah.
You know, always surround yourself with people that are better than you if you can. You know.
Yeah, I need a piano recommendation, a piano teacher recommendation.
YouTube.
YouTube.
There's so much knowledge on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like in anything in life. Like I taught myself how to record from watching YouTube videos. You know, obviously, if you're looking for piano, you have a talent in piano. So get on there and find people that inspire you and figure out what inspires them. Go on the journey. Like if you like, for whatever reason, I'm going to say a piano player called Yanni. You've heard of Yanni, right? The Greek piano player guy, plays atmospheric lounge music. If you love him, what inspired him? Do your homework on him. You know, or who do you like? Do you like Fiona Apple? Do you like Beth Hart? Do you like, who's a piano player you like?
I like Alicia Keys.
Okay, cool. Alicia Keys, great. Find out why Alicia Keys sounds like she does. Who inspired Alicia Keys? There's a million interviews. There's a million things of her playing on there. Look up her songs. Listen to her songs. Watch YouTube videos on other people's interpretation of her stuff. I can learn something from everybody. You know, any guitar player, doesn't matter how crap or good they are, they've always got something that I can learn from them. And start there. It's free, you know. And finding a good teacher is an excuse to not learn something.
Okay.
So stop making excuses and start today. All you got to do is jump on your iPad or your computer and search Alicia Keys and start doing your homework. Like, figure out why is she so cool? What is it that you really like about her? What connects with you? Why is her piano playing so special? Or is it even her piano playing? Do you like the message in her songs? Do you like the way she sings? Do you like the way she looks? What's the combination that makes it uniquely special for Dana? And then figure out, you don't want to be Alicia Keys because we already have Alicia Keys. You're not going to be Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
But figure out your own version of that's special. You know, every one of us is unique and we all have something to offer. And like I said, this is where you got to figure out what it is about Dana that makes me want to buy into you. Why do I want to spend time with you? And why do I want to give you the time of day? Because my time's valuable. You know, what do you have to offer, so to speak, that's going to make someone walk in a bar or a restaurant or a gig and not turn around and walk out again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's people's attention spans are super short these days. You know, I'm driving home and I barely get through a whole song. I literally click through, you know, listen to different stuff. So figure it out, figure out what's in here, and then use this to find a pathway to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
then
right.
Bex can connect us if you
Yeah.
need help with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So we're running short on time just because I actually also have to eat dinner. My husband is like, but so Francis did have a question, but I'm going to have him ask you in private because I connected you two already. What I do want to know is I'm going to ask you one question and then we can do the tour. Or I'm going to ask you two questions, which is one.
Oh shit!
There's just
Hang on a sec.
Oh.
Everyone disappeared. Hang on.
He's like,
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
try not to say Australian words. I'm like, what do you mean? He's
Yep.
like,
I haven't said one F-bomb yet. I'm very proud.
I think you did.
No,
But
that was
it's
before
okay.
everyone was on.
So these will be quick answers. One, what was your favorite song to perform out of all the bands that you served with in their songs? And when you give your tour, because he's surrounded by 90 of his like guitars right now, what is your favorite guitar? So those are the two questions.
I can't answer either one of those. They're like the most impossible question. It's like the question saying, "What's your favorite color?" There's a lot of colors. I don't know.
All right.
So I'll answer the question. Musically speaking, it depends on my mood. You know,
I relate.
certain songs like Truly Madly Deep. Let's talk about the hits with Lifehouse and Savage Garden. Truly Madly Deeply. I Want to Stand With You on a Mountain. I Want to Bathe With You in a Sea. The most played song on radio in the world in '98. We've all heard that song 1,000 billion times. Lifehouse, You and Me, the biggest song of Lifehouse's career. Both of those songs were career-making songs. Wish I wrote them. I'd be super happy financially for the rest of my life, but not really that exciting to play. Both of those songs were just, whatever. You get to the point where you're playing them 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day for the rest of your life. You start to tire of these songs, you know? But there are certain songs like the song Spin by Lifehouse, or even the song like Hanging by a Moment. I never really got tired of playing those songs because they kind of rocked, you know? So as far as a guitar player goes, the mid-tempo stuff that has a bit more emotion in it, I really enjoy. Ballads get a little sleepy for me live sometimes, but I do like the rock side of it as well, very much. Couldn't give you a specific name of songs because it changes daily. Same as my listening taste. You know, it depends on my mood. But what I gravitate towards, I guess, is that kind of not slow, but the mid-tempo rock stuff I really dig. Not necessarily ballads, but so that stuff that's got a bit of heartfelt emotion in it, not just an out-and-out rock song. You know, I very rarely gravitate to those kind of songs. And guitar-wise, there are so many guitars in here. My iPad is literally on its last legs of juice, but if I unplug, I'm gonna try to give. Hopefully, my cable is long enough here. I'll just hold it up, and we'll spin around slowly. You know, there's just guitars everywhere, as you can see, and stuff all the way around here and all the way over there. So there's. Yeah, and then I have my studio stuff behind me, the monitors and speakers. And
is that a green guitar? With like
and then there's my drums down here, and then the one over there. Which one? Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of guitars here that behind me that are all one-off guitars that I designed and had built for me. What I will share, there's there's so many guitars. It's a whole nother Zoom meeting about guitars.
Well, we'll schedule that.
I'll get you one guitar. I'll show you. That's pretty cool. Let me think which one. All right. So this guitar specifically, right here. This is a pretty cool guitar. It's the only one in the world. So my buddy Phil Collin from Def Leppard gave me this guitar. So the story with this guitar was there's a song called Everything, which you've all heard
Yes!
from Lifehouse. You're right. Okay. So that song, the front of that song has a part that's actually played and recorded on a cello, treated. So it sort of sounds like a guitar, sort of sounds like a cello, you know, the string part going, da, 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 you know, the melody lines. So to do that live, you need a thing called an ebow, which is a mechanism that you hold above the strings, and it makes the strings vibrate like a violin bow. So it's a constant note. So this guitar has an ebow built inside of it. You know, it's all put in the back of the guitar here. So there's kind of something that's very special to what Phil does as a guitar player. So I asked him, I said, hey, can I borrow one of your guitars to try it, see if it's cool? He's like, yeah. So I borrowed this guitar. He loaned it to me and I played it and it was great. And then he came to see me play, and after seeing me play, he's like, walk me to the car. So I did, and he said, hey, it's yours. I'm like, what? And he goes, that guitar looked great on you. I want you to have it. So he was a hero of mine. So to have my hero give me this baby, and it's the only one in the world, that's pretty special to me. You know, I have another guitar. It's actually not here to show you, but it's the reason I have that tattoo actually on my arm. I'll show you the other version of that guitar, but it's a guitar called a Firebird. So we played the Olympic Games in the year 2000 in Sydney, Australia. And the guitar that I played at the Olympics was a guitar called a Firebird, which looks like this. So on the Firebird, you can see this emblem right here, which is that right there on my arm. So I remember playing at the Olympics. I'm standing there on stage in front of, there was 130,000 people in the arena and all the athletes on the ground in front of me, and we're playing. And I looked down at the guitar and I could see the bird right here. And I'm like, this is an event of a lifetime. I'm never going to forget this. And my dreams as a kid, it's a funny story to go back to when I was about 16. I had a coach working me out on the basketball court, and he said, you're going to play at the 2000 Olympics. And I went, wow. He goes, I think you got the talent to play at the 2000 Olympics. I did play at the 2000 Olympics. I just wasn't on the basketball team. I was playing music. So it's weird how things happen if you manifest them. So, you know, my teammates that I played with when I played basketball, 3 of those guys were on the Olympic team. And they came up to the stage in their green and gold Australian tracksuits, and they used to call me Benny the Bug. Like, and they're like, Bug, yeah, we love you. I'm up there rocking out, and all my teammates are like cheering me on. So I got that tattoo because of the Firebird guitar. The one that I had for the Olympics is made in gold sparkle because the Australian colors were green and gold. So I wish I had that here to show you. It's actually in the shop getting some work done to it. But there's only 2 in the world, that one and that gold one, that were made specially for me as my series. Most of the guitars in here all have a story like that. You know, it's all the songs that I've written or things that, you know, each guitar has a story. Each one matters to me. That guitar right there, that one is the very first Gibson that I ever bought with my own money. When I was working at the guitar shop before I was a cool guy in a band, I fell in love with this guitar. Every day I would pick it off the wall and I would play it, but it was unaffordable to me. It was like $3,000 back in the 90s. That was like 12 grand now, you know? And as a young kid, I just couldn't afford it, but I had talent and I had drive. So I talked to the import company. I said, hey, if I play this guitar at every gig I do, I know I'm going to be on TV one day and I'm going to play your guitar, and will you let me keep this guitar because it's special, but I just pay it off? I said, we'll do you one better. You can have the guitar, you can pay it off, but you're allowed to take it with you. You can take it home. We'll sponsor you, but you still have to pay for it. They said, we'll give you a real special deal. I paid $2,500 for it, and I paid it off. It took me like 2 years to pay for it. But I got that guitar. That's my first ever guitar I bought. That's the guitar I played on that stage with Bon Jovi and No Doubt and the Spice Girls. That night was that guitar. So, you know, that guitar, there's a lot of cool stories for me in that guitar. Everyone, you know, they've all got stories, different artists that I've played with. The one, oh, you can't see it. It's over there, but one day we have more time, we'll talk more about guitars, you know.
That is so awesome. Okay, you guys can all unmute right now. I love Ben, and I'm sure if we ask him to do it again, maybe one day he'll be
sure,
like,
yeah.
I'm free again.
You guys are great.
So you guys, I don't know if you guys want to say hi, bye, but we should be wrapping it up. I mean, he gave us 2 hours.
Yes, thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna leave,
awesome.
I'm gonna leave you all with this though. If you know, like I said, we're old people. We're all busy. You all took your time, like I took my time. Yeah, we're all connected for this lovely lady up here, Bex. If anything that I says resonates with you on a personal level, if there's stuff that I can help you with, or you're struggling with, or you want advice, I got a phone. I'm sure you got a phone. Bex can connect us directly. I suck at email. I'm the text champion of the world. And I'm happy to give you a call. Like I don't have a lot of time in the day to talk on the phone. But I do walk my dogs as much as possible. So I call that my office, you know, or if I'm driving to and from a gig, as long as you guys don't mind, sometimes the conversation might take place over 2 or 3 different conversations. I'd be happy to jump on the phone with any of you and help or share, or, you know, if there's anything I said that matters and I can make a difference, I'd be happy to do that.
Yes.
That is so generous.
I definitely want to plan another one. I definitely want to plan another one because I think there was a lot of people who wanted to ask about like maybe songwriting tips, you know, or something like that. Maybe you can show off and do a little bit of guitar. we'll have your original sound on, or maybe you know on our next live broadcast you could join us too and make an appearance.
Yeah, well, it's great meeting you. I will ask a favor of you. It's unashamedly self-promotion, but that's what we do in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
I am proud to be part of what's called the Cameo family now. And it doesn't really apply to you guys because you guys are friends and it's different, but it's more for fans. Like Lifehouse has millions of crazy fans. You may know a bunch of them. So if you, Bex has my profile, I shared it with her. If you guys have Lifehouse fans that maybe want a shout out or a birthday wish, they can get on the Cameo app and message me on there, and then I make a special video for them for a fee. So that would really help my family, you know, make some money for them and keep everyone safe during this COVID time. If you have friends that are interested, that want a message or a shout out or whatever it is, or need to know how to play a guitar part, doesn't count for you guys because you guys are in a different boat. But you know, for the peripheral people, they can absolutely pay me for my time, and I'd be happy to help them. You know,
and it's very affordable. He's not charging $1,500 or anything like that.
Only $30. Come on.
$30, guys.
Yeah. So Bex, if you could share that profile with everybody,
I will. I
if
definitely
they happen
share
to know anyone.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was gonna say my intro video is pretty funny, so you might like it.
Yes, and I will also share your Instagram. I'll connect them all with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great.
And I think just to close out, can we just have Pastor Steve pray us out?
Sure.
Bex, thank you, because you're starting to learn me well, because I was going to actually ask you. And Ben, I just want to really encourage you. I see a Maggio Dei in your life, meaning the image of God portrayed. God is a great creator, and God created this beautiful world we live in, and he gives us such gifts and talents to reflect his nature and beauty to others. Many of us lose that side of God because we all live in brokenness. But as we move past our brokenness and we see the beauty of who Jesus was, like you talked about, being a good neighbor and being considerate of others' feelings and just being good to people, we get to realize that the greatest good we are is when we begin to reflect who God created us to be in him. So I just want to encourage you with that, because I see that in your words and the way you tell stories. You have just such a great ability to demonstrate God's goodness and creativeness in your life. So I want to thank you for that real quick.
Yeah.
You're welcome, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet all you guys. It was cool.
You've touched all of us.
So I'll pray real quick, I promise. Father, we are thankful for this opportunity to connect, Lord God, whether near or far. The technology that you've given to us has allowed us to be close even though we're miles apart. And in this, Lord, I pray special blessing upon each person that heard this, Lord God, that they in themselves would see that they were created for something bigger than themselves, that your purpose and plan for their life is ever growing, ever changing, and that they would learn to make the most out of every opportunity that is given to them, Lord God. I pray that they would see themselves in you, see themselves in your story, and know that they have a special gifting given to you that causes us to connect with you on such deeper levels, Lord God. I pray for Ben, Lord God. I pray for strength. I pray for courage to be a voice in an industry where very few people have voices. You have given him a voice, Lord God, and given him the ability to be such a great storyteller that allows him to connect with others. So, Father, I pray your continued favor and blessing be upon his life. Just guide us all and keep us, Father. And I pray that as we walk, we would be reconcilers and voices of justice and mercy and love, and walk humbly before you, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Bex,
Amen.
thank you so much. God is using you in such great ways, and it is an honor to just be your friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love you guys.
God bless you guys.
Cheers, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Wait, Ben, don't go real quick. I will share the info with you guys later. Stay tuned. You guys know how I connect. But I'm gonna end all and just stay on with Ben and Francis. Bye.
Cool. See you, everyone. Bye.
Everyone's getting off. Everyone's getting off. I love you, Benny.
You too, Dallin. You too. It's great seeing you, and nice to meet everybody, Francis.
Is Tar still on?
I think so. I think she's getting off, but it's okay. Hold on a second.